Welcome to Work It Out Sweat Therapy with Emily, yours truly. And today we are warming up and firing it up, which means I'm gonna take you through what my warm up typically looks like before each workout, which yes, does start with a coffee. And then we're gonna talk all about our body's energy system, AKA metabolism. And now I had to bring an expert in to really explain it, break down the science, and simplify it for you because there's so much info on the internet that's incorrect. So we're gonna straighten it all out today with my very special guest, my dad. Dad, say hi. It's a time for a lesson today, a science lesson. Fun fact is my dad was my high school science teacher, a huge influence into why I fell in love with the science of the body, which is, as you know, my passion, but also my passion that I really want to pass to you guys and help you understand, because I personally believe that the more you understand your body intrinsically, what is happening in here every single day, the more you will feel like you have control of it, which you should and you do. And that is the biggest part of being in here in the gym. Until you really learn your internal systems, the external really isn't going to reflect, or it's just going to be a random byproduct of random things. And helping understand the science is where we can really get clarity about ourselves. And metabolism, and I'm sure you've heard it talked about in different ways, it is often looked at as this thing that we don't have control over, that it is either on our side or it's not in terms of our body composition and weight loss, or something we're just genetically stuck with, which could not be further than the truth. And I think if you, by the end of this episode, understand what it actually is in your body, you will understand that none of that is honestly true. So to start, how about the definition of what metabolism actually is?
Metabolism really is a word that describes all the complex chemical reactions that happen inside each cell of the body of an organism.
Right.
Humans, all other animals and plants.
Plants.
That's essential for them to stay alive.
Yeah.
It involves the creation of all the energy they require.
Okay.
Breakdown of the chemicals in the food we eat to build new body parts, new parts for the cell. Also, the process of eliminating any toxic substances that we ingest or are produced during the processes of respiration.
Yeah, amazing. So just right there, even from the definition, it's so clear that metabolism is essential to being alive. So it's not that you have a good one or a bad one. You have metabolism. That is how you are here right now watching the video, right now inside of your body. It's occurring at every second, every moment within your cells. And hit them with the fact about cells. We have how many cells in our body?
The average human body has about 37 trillion cells.
That's more money than Elon Musk, okay?
Pretty
All right,
much.
37 trillion inside.
330 billion of those have to be reproduced every day because they wear out or break.
Which is normal.
All part of metabolism.
That's part of how your systems are working, right? Honestly, I picture the body as though we have a little ecosystem in there, because that's what it is, right?
Yes.
Like the ecosystem we live in.
It's a very complex ecosystem.
It lives in us, so complex. You think your neighbors are complicated, the building you live in? How about understanding the whole ecosystem inside of you? But I really like looking at it that way and like picturing that almost metaphor of it being this community or a whole bunch of communities that have to coexist to keep us alive. And if you picture that, the metabolism is essentially what powers and keeps the entire, all the communities going in your body, all the systems. Like, you know, we're here in LA. If you fly into LA, you like look at it and you're like, oh my God, look, the 405 and the 101, like this is so crazy. It looks like organized chaos, right? Like traffic, you know, we've been in it and that's chaos, but it all somehow flows, right? There's flows and there's these big buildings and all these people are working inside the buildings. That's happening inside your body. So metabolism in that metaphor would be the power.
It's the power, it's the action, it's the creation of the parts, it's the function of the parts, it's the replacement of the parts, it's everything that is a functioning human body.
Wow.
We essentially can theoretically stay alive about 3 minutes without a metabolism.
Whoa!
So your metabolism doesn't stop on a regular basis.
Right.
If you can't lose weight or you can't run a kilometer or a mile, when your metabolism stops, it's over.
So really understanding in that way is it being this essential power source that keeps everything running and repairing and functioning. It's not against you. It is part of you.
Now we can make it run better, smoother by treating our body in certain ways.
And that's what we're going to talk about next. Hang with us. You understand that metabolism is needed. You don't have a choice about the matter. It is keeping you running. It is you plugging your phone in because you see that little 10% come on and you panic. Guess what? You're going to plug it in right away to keep it on. Metabolism is always happening within you. Again, it comes down to what you're doing to keep all of your systems running optimally and how they're designed to run. And that's what we're going to talk about next, because that is what health is, right? It's not, I feel like fitness has scammed the word metabolism to sell products. Like, oh, you got slow metabolism? Take these fat burners. Hit this workout. No, what you got to do is care for your systems. So we're going to teach you. Now that we understand that metabolism isn't something you have or don't or lack or need more of, we're going to talk about what our metabolism needs, what the metabolism's love language is, what you need to give it on a daily basis, not a once in a while when you feel like you want to be healthy basis, a daily basis, because it's working for you literally in these 37 trillion cells every moment. So you can't do a little something for it. Like, you gotta be there for it, right? Let's understand while we warm up our upper body, what does our metabolism need? So what are the components?
The most critical thing we need is air, oxygen. So without that, well, it's a short one. So
it ends right there, folks,
right
okay?
there.
So stop holding your breath and breathe deeper, okay? Take a real big one right now.
Breathing is extremely important. We need water. About 60% of the human body is water. So that's why
you're dehydrated right now. I know you are. You're thirsty.
Stay hydrated. We need a lot of water. The chemical reactions that happen in a water or aqueous environment.
We're not just saying, like, when you're a trainer and when I'm telling you, like, hey, drink your water, we're not just saying it to be like, hey, eat your green vegetables on your plate. You literally have no choice. This is not an optional situation.
No.
Okay, it's not like, oh, I feel like soda. Water.
Primarily the last thing we need to just stay alive is fuel, food.
We're gonna go like this.
So the food.
We're getting our joints warmed up, guys. Okay, we're just gonna little open close, like you're like, ooh.
Okay.
Like,
The fuel powers our body, it gives the cells energy, but it also gives us building blocks to repair and replace anything that needs to be, or to help us grow.
Big facts. A non-negotiable component. If you have stuck in your head like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight and so I'm just not gonna eat as much and I'm just gonna like fast for like the entire day and then just eat one meal. Understand what your body literally essentially needs, and then you'll see how a lot of that just doesn't make sense. When you're depriving your body of these essential things that it needs just to run, you're going to be running suboptimally.
Oh,
right?
Yes, yeah. You might use a bit of the energy stored in a few fat cells, but you don't have the components to replace the bone cells that have broken down that day, the millions of blood cells that have to be replaced because they've worn out, the muscle cells that wear out from normal use every day.
Or when you're working out as well.
You don't have the components to heal things. So it isn't just, oh, well, I'll burn some of that excess energy.
You know what I view it as? Like, you're actually making shit harder for yourself. But in your brain, it's like, okay, you have this external outcome you want, right? The result. But when you start looking at the body, how it's designed and how it functions on this cellular level, it helps you really separate that external outcome that you want so badly, and you think, okay, I'll just eat less and whatever, all these things we talked about, depriving of the essential things. And you see, like, that's not the smartest way to get there, because it's actually treating your body the worst way possible and asking for the most. It's like going into a job and being like, I really want to raise, but I'm just going to come in like for a couple hours this week and then I'm going to take a vacation next week. But hey, hit me with that paycheck. It doesn't work like that. If you don't give, you're not going to get. And I think the best thing about understanding, again, the cellular process is that you understand what it needs and what you have to give. It's, again, a non-negotiable thing. And when health starts to go south, that's when it gets really hard to figure out what is happening in the body, like what is wrong, because these systems have been mistreated for so long. It's a very hard process to work backwards when you could be working from right now and treating your body with care, and it's gonna give back to you what it's designed to do, right?
Exactly.
And that's pretty simple. Again, air, water, food.
Yes.
Come on, guys. That's pretty simple. So stop putting shit in your body.
Absolutely.
So what happens when you do put shit in your body?
Well, that's where those toxic substances puts pressure on parts of the body, kidneys, liver in particular, to break it down and find a way to get rid of it. Hopefully,
like get it on out of there.
It doesn't get stored where it can cause damage and eventual illness or conditions, inflammation and so on. But it taxes the body. It's like, you know, getting a whole pile of garbage in your mailbox along with a piece of mail, right? So you got to sort through it. You got to figure out how to get it out.
I try to figure out how to get those bills out every day. I'm like, who put this in here? Okay, so let's, while we get the hammies warmed up, let's talk about, okay, stretch. That was good. That was really good. Okay, wait, who can get lower? I didn't know this was going to be a competition, but damn, I'm going to stretch a little more. So then tying to all of this is we have more than just those 37 trillion cells. What other cells do we have that need this metabolic
The average
energy?
number for each of us is about 10 trillion microbes living in our gut. Our microbiome, a little sort of fungal world that lives in a symbiotic relationship with our body.
So they're not necessarily our cells, they're cells that live within us.
No, they're not our cells. They're cells that live within us, okay? Roughly every person has about 200 different species. That varies person to person. It varies considerably based on your diet. The goal is to have all of them. Very good ones, good ones that help you, right? When we get unbalanced, sometimes bad ones move in, and they start to call the shots. So
you hear something like talked a lot, like your gut flora. That's what it's referring to. Is we got the good homies, and then we got some bad homies. But having said that, we also do need a few bad homies. Actually, with the good, it has to be a balance, as you mentioned. Like you can't just have all good. But when the bad guys get a hold of it and they start repopulating and they take ownership of that area, that's when bad things happen. There could be like 8 episodes on gut health, and probably will at some point. But I think tying into this, and what's so important to understand, those are cells that your body's responsible for, right? They living in there. They're like Airbnb in it, okay? You got some long-term residents. If you're not caring for your gut health, meaning again, back to those things, the water, the food, and then gut health goes even bigger, like your sleep, your stress levels, this affects this. They're directly together.
If we keep them happy, they do the jobs they're supposed to do. They help us produce the vitamins we need, the critical vitamins and various hormones for communication and so on. They help control a lot of our body's processes when they're happy. They're happy when we give them the food they want and the right conditions to live in. So it's a win-win situation.
If you just treat them right.
When we treat them badly, they say, well,
we're just gonna let some of our, hey, you didn't make my accommodations tonight, so I'm just gonna give it to George, and then you gotta deal with him, and he got a real stank attitude, and that's when you're bloated. That is George. Sorry if there's any Georges watching. I don't know why I said George. It just popped in my head. There's nothing against you, George. I don't even know a George. So now we understand what metabolism actually is and what it needs from us. The last part here is understanding the components that make up metabolism. So take it away, Mr. Meisner. This is giving me major flashbacks of when I was in his classroom. But y'all gonna learn from the best right now. What are the components?
Okay, so metabolism is a general term that describes, as we said, all those life processes, chemical reactions. We can break it into 2 different parts. Okay, so one part is catabolism.
So when someone says, hey, you are catabolic, is that what it's referring to?
It is. It refers to the process of the breaking down of components, okay? The other, for just the reference, and we'll get to it in a minute, is anabolism.
Boy, that's a hard word, anabolism.
And that's the building of things. Breakdown or decomposition, composition.
Okay,
building.
so we got to break down to build up.
We do.
Man, isn't that just like, next time there's a therapy moment, that's it right there. Be like, you tried to catabolism. It's actually hard. What's that? Because big words. You tried to catabolize me, but you can't, because every time I anabolize, no.
And as you see, it wasn't a complete success as a teacher.
No, give me what it is. I'm trying to say you break me down, but I build myself up. I'm trying to get it.
Build me up, buttercup.
Okay, we lost it. You know what? You know what I was trying to say. Next time someone pisses you off, try to say it, because I can, apparently. Okay, take it away.
Think of the two major parts of the catabolic process.
See, now you got my tongues.
Catabolism, we can break down into two major components. One is digestion. Obviously, digestion refers to the process of breaking down the components of the foods we eat, okay? Yep. So there are three essential components to the foods: carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, okay? Fats, lipids, fats and oils, okay? Nice. So the carbohydrates break down from complex to simple. One of the simplest that we eventually need is glucose.
So just pause real quick. I want y'all to understand. Yeah. Again, a non-negotiable situation here: carbs, protein, and fat. So this whole, carbs are so bad. I don't eat fat. I have a low fat. You need this shit. You need it.
That's our lifeline. Fuel for energy.
Literally.
Proteins break down into amino acids. They are the building blocks of the proteins that our cell walls, our muscles, all those things are made of proteins.
Yeah.
Okay? But we can't use the plant proteins as they are. We break them down and we build them back up again.
That's right.
As human proteins, as muscle and so on.
Right. It's like we remix what we eat into our own structure.
And the lipids break down basically into fatty acids. And the fatty acids, we might think, ooh, I don't want those things. They sound bad.
Yeah, sound all scary, right?
Those build some of the essential hormones and vitamins we need to stay healthy or alive. And they build a covering, a coating around the nerve cells. System. If that disappears, the whole system doesn't work. Gone.
Yep, that's your electric,
including
that's your
the brain,
board.
Right? So
yeah, circuit board, gone. When your device, it loses the circuit board is shot. Yep. It doesn't turn on.
No. So those are critical. Okay. So that's sort of the process of digestion. The other part, most common part of the catabolic processes would be respiration.
That sounds like lungs, but break it down.
It is. Not to be confused with just breathing. Though. Okay? So breathing, which we often call respiration, is in fact just the inhalation of air to get oxygen in, which we need.
We do.
Okay, that's the part of the air we need. And exhalation, which gets rid of the carbon dioxide that we've produced, the water vapor we've produced, and we breathe in like 80% of what we breathe in is nitrogen, and it's no use to us, so we breathe it back out again. Okay, so that is the exchange of gases in the lungs. Okay, we are talking here, I guess I should say, cellular respiration. And cellular respiration is that process of using the energy in the form of glucose in the mitochondria of our cells to produce the energy that fuels every single cell of the body.
In the body. So mitochondria are the power plant.
They are the power plant, the little engines.
Supplying every single home and building here with power.
Absolutely.
And the homes are our cells.
Yes.
Got it. So then what you're saying, you have to have glucose to be alive. And your glucose comes from?
Well, it's best to make it come from complex carbohydrates.
Okay.
The glucose we ingest in sugary drinks and foods, it's like a quick hit and it's gone. It's a very poor source of it.
That really can't be used.
We need complex carbohydrates that we break down through the process of digestion and over a period of time where they can be used. A quick hit of glucose, a little bit gets used and the body says, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this? I better quick store this because I can't handle it all right now.
And it's a lot of byproduct as well, because often those sources of that glucose come with a lot of other things that we don't need.
A lot of other stuff that's toxic.
Let that be the perspective or help you understand next time you're like, oh, I just need some energy. Let me just have this juice, this sugary juice real quick. You're doing a disservice. You're making it harder. because then there's even more energy, precious energy that has been broken down and converted that needs to be used to get rid of the toxins.
Exactly.
So then you're just honestly like poking holes in your bucket at that point. You're losing all what you're putting in.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other aspect, anabolism, is building, okay? So it's the part of your metabolism that takes these components, the fatty acids, the amino acids, uses the energy, the glucose, and rebuilds what the body needs. It produces the things that we haven't ingested. For example, we'll take in some of the vitamins and the amino acids we need, we build the rest, we make them.
And that's the difference of essential and non-essential?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The essential ones are the ones that we can't make.
Yeah.
We have to
they're
have in our diet. The other ones we can build from the ones from the essential ones.
Like we got a little factory in there.
Yeah, absolutely, okay. In those little factories, they build the parts that the body is made of.
It's like a little Apple factory making all these little computers and phones.
Exactly, yeah. And in fact, building the factory itself. Remember we talked about the 300 plus billion cells every day that have to be replaced? They got to be built. And they're built from these parts. Anabolism is really that building process.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing to understand, because again, when we think metabolism, we think burning and energy that's, getting rid and leaving our body. We need to build, or if you just keep burning, there's nothing left.
Every 120 days, we replace the 30 plus trillion cells in our body. Now, we don't replace them all.
We don't replace them all, yeah.
No, basically, about every 120 days, we've built the equivalent of a new body.
Can you just even take that in? Like, that's some really powerful shit right there. You actually have the opportunity right now. Maybe you haven't made the healthiest decisions. Maybe you don't have the healthiest habits or routines. You have the opportunity to change all of that and do the things that we just talked about. Treat your body with the care of what it actually needs on a cellular level. You have the chance to rebuild yourself literally and figuratively. You gonna mess up that opportunity every 120 days?
We have to be careful that somebody doesn't say, oh, for 120 days I'm gonna party and have a great time, because then I'll fix it all.
No, some damage is long term.
For example, the epithelial cells in our gut get replaced every 3 to 5 days. Our red blood cells get replaced every 100 days or so.
Yes.
Our muscle cells, somewhere maybe, depending on how you use them, periods of years. Bone cells have to be repaired, replaced because of the stress on them.
Yes.
Those aren't bad things, okay? In fact, those keep them healthy.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Our brain cells, for example, and our heart cells maybe have to last a whole lifetime, so you shouldn't really damage a lot of those thinking, oh, 120 days, I'll be better. They don't get replaced.
And that literally is what we need to be alive.
Those are good parts to have.
Kind of need those.
Functioning, yes.
Kind of need those. That's a really good way to word it. It's not an opportunity to just say, F it all, I can redo this. You get one of these things, quite literally. Like, the shell doesn't ever get fully replaced, but you have the opportunity to improve your systems.
You do, absolutely.
I was going to say, why even just saying like, oh, genetics and this is the way I am, is only a very small part. You still have so much control over these systems.
Think of genetics kind of like, here's the set of routes that I can travel. Genetics might be Google Maps telling you, take this route or take this route. But you can say, well, I want the scenic route today, or whatever. So you can choose to work within your genetics in order to use them to the best of your advantage, okay?
It's a path. You're not being forced.
You're not totally being forced.
You only have that one path to take.
It might be this particular day they're doing construction, I shouldn't take this route. That's out for you, right?
Right.
But you have other ways to get there.
And there's going to be other little routes that appear that weren't originally in that blueprint, in that plan. Ooh, that's good. That's some good shit. So then this is essentially what makes up metabolism, is the breaking down and the building up part.
That's right.
Then just to like sum it all together, if someone says, even I'll actually hear sometimes on social media, medical professionals saying like, well, if you have a broken metabolism, what's the quickest way to kind of straighten that out or understand? It's not broken, it's just
abused.
There we go.
we're treating our body badly in some way, the components we're putting into it, the lack of exercise. If we sit around and do nothing, then we require nothing of our body. And I mean, it is clearly use it or lose it.
It will meet us where we are.
Your bones. Think about the astronauts. They first didn't do much exercise.
Yep.
They lost bone mass, they lost muscle mass. The first ones that came back from long terms in space couldn't stand up on their own. They were so weak. They had lost it in a relatively short period of time. We need to do that. Same is true for our mental health. You stop using your mind, you lose that ability. You stop building connections between the neurons.
The neurons literally stop trying.
But you got to use it, you got to treat it well. When you use it, that really starts with plenty of hydration, good fuel, good breathing.
Other really important thing I encourage people, because I get starting a healthy journey can feel very overwhelming, or often we associate it with costing a lot. And I get there's a lot of socioeconomic parameters, especially here in the US. I just urge you to take the viewpoint of a lot of this doesn't cost. Okay, food is a whole other discussion, but even with those parameters, there's healthier choices that can be made when you understand what your body needs. And with some of that, it's just making sure you're not putting in what it doesn't. And the movement, the water, all of this stuff, you can do it right now. It seems so small, and really all this stuff adds up at a cellular level, and think of those as those little tiny blocks, and eventually that adds and it grows and it grows, and then it does take effect. Not without consistency and being intentional with it. If you are in a place of just like really wanting better for your body and to feel better, it starts with this simple stuff. Simple building blocks.
Take care of your metabolism.
That's it. It ain't your enemy. It is keeping you going every day. The more you treat it such, it will be there for you.
Absolutely.
Well, that was a really good science lesson. I don't know about y'all, but I feel smarter. Literally, because of this guy right here. Man, science. Come on now.
That's right. Science is good.
Right there. It's science, y'all. Keeps the body going. Understand your body. And that's all, folks.